Hey, hold on. Hold. Bag up, Terry. Put in reverse, Terry. Oh, Lord, Jesus.
Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast. You got Terry and Rob here. Boomer Rob.
Sooner Terry.
And we are coming at you from the beautiful Podcast Palace in Norman, Oklahoma.
Where we are not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma.
But we do have eligibility left. Still hard to say eligibility. Eligibility.
You have struggled with it for about 3 years, so I'm not going to lie.
Hey, I never claimed to be a good talker.
Linguist.
There you go. Is that it?
That's it. That's a big word, Terry.
Let's get everything out of the way real quick. First off, make sure and like and follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
Go ahead and slide into those DMs if you want.
Yep. And, follow our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The band you heard is Fever Tree, the band out of Memphis. Big OU fans, Mike Bertaldo, my buddy from years ago when we were young and dumb and, check them out on Spotify and on YouTube, Fever Tree, also on Facebook. Dan, the Tailgate Ninja, tailgateconnect.com.
Who is moving closer to us.
Closer to it, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing.
Yeah, because his warning was, go ahead and get your livers pickled now. And I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be good or not.
Let's see who. Oh yeah, the OU Club of Atlanta. We'll be doing some stuff with them. Looking forward to
going to the Masters.
Yeah, looking forward to our trip to Augusta. She's gonna DM me one of these days and go, "What the?"
Sorry, y'all need to stop because that ain't happening.
But anyway, up on this podcast, we got the man himself. In my opinion, the best radio show in the metro. The Plank Show. We got Chris Plank coming up here in just a few minutes. And we're going to talk a little bit about COVID football last year, dealing with that. Probably going to talk about him getting to call the Sugar Bowl. Was it Sugar Bowl? What bowl game were we in?
Last year?
Yeah.
It was
Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, Cotton Bowl.
Cotton Bowl. Getting to call the Cotton Bowl because T-Row went out with COVID. And what do you think? You think we ought to talk some softball with him? Since he's the voice of Sooner softball,
he's definitely the voice. He may know a thing or two.
Yeah, so we'll see if he wants to talk a little bit of softball. Listening to his show today, he was ticked about some things, and so I'm looking forward to
ticking him off again.
Not just he was on a roll. Did you not listen to him today?
I was unable to listen today. I had a dadgum Brady Bunch meeting right at the time. Normally I've got him on. But, yeah.
Apparently Stillwater...
Shut up so I can listen to the radio.
Apparently Stillwater has an issue with the Oklahoma Sooners. We don't know why, but...
Well, big brother, right? They feel like we pick on them, but we just smack them around.
Yeah, but apparently there were some... the umpiring was done by the
School of Blind.
Yeah, one-eyed Leroy and his buddies.
Yeah, it was bad.
Some fan issues, some Big 12 trophy issues, some celebration issues, and
did you hear that? I think maybe sitting right next to him in the bleachers was some girl screaming "Orange Power."
Yeah,
did you hear that during the broadcast? I was like, Chris, reach over and just smack that woman so she'll shut up.
We'll have to ask him about the Orange Power woman.
Man, it was driving me insane.
But I really didn't listen. I tried to watch, but it wasn't on, and I'm going to admit that. But I'm pretty sure I had a little bit of E. coli this weekend.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, the northeast side of Norman Friday night went on a boil order because of E. coli. And I woke up. I didn't play golf Saturday. I woke up Saturday morning at 7:30 and felt just like hammered. You know what?
Wow. And
I kind of curled up for the whole weekend. And
really,
yeah,
I didn't play Saturday either.
Yeah, I know.
I was riding, but I did play Sunday and I played today. So.
But how did you do?
I actually did really well.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah. Well, and we schooled everybody out at the stadium on Friday afternoon.
Of course we did.
With Top Golf. out there. We were hitting dimes.
I hit one into the end zone, spun it back to the 50.
and you hit one into the bleachers to the left, right?
I hit several into the bleachers there. But you know what? I cannot stand those clubs because I hate Callaway irons. Hate them. They're just heavy. They're clunky. I don't like them at all. So I was shankopotamus all over the place. But it was still fun.
No, and then, we jumped up and did a little bit of lefty.
Yeah,
hit some balls
tried.
left-handed, we figured out that Rhett might ought to play golf left-handed from now on. Huh?
Well, you know what? When he was a kid and I started him playing golf, he was a lefty.
Yeah.
He played baseball from the left side of the plate, and I had him left-handed golf clubs. And then when he got about, 10 or 12,
he got bored with left.
He started swinging my golf clubs because he was, huge at that point. And so we just switched him around.
Oh.
But he started out playing golf lefty. So.
Well, he was hitting them pretty good left-handed.
Well, he's blind in his left eye, I think, or for the most part, he's blind. In
you
his
think? You don't know?
Well, it's bad. He can see, but it's bad. Yeah. So he, that's why I actually had to stop playing baseball because it threw off his depth perception. So he had to stop playing baseball because he couldn't judge the ball coming at him. So, but golf, the ball's just sitting there. So, it's a lot easier. I'm just saying,
golf's a lot easier than baseball. Is what you're saying?
Well, it's a lot easier to hit the ball. Now, you may not hit it very, very well, but it's still there, able to hit. Right?
Yeah, you're able to see the ball better.
Yeah. Well, I'll go out there and go there for you. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a good time. I'm with you. People paying $90 to go out there and hit it, dribble it off the edge. We were next to a group of college kids.
I'm pretty sure that if that's the way I played, I would not have paid for that because literally she never hit one that went anywhere.
Yeah, it barely got over the screen.
Right.
To, get over the, that catches the ball so they don't fall down.
I think it's to catch people that fall down, but I was hoping to see that, but I never did.
Never did.
I was, disappointed in that. I tell you what, Terry, I had a good time there, but I was disappointed because I thought we were going to be hitting it off of the upper deck.
Yeah, and I was hoping that they'd have a driver out there. I want to hit one out of the stadium.
Well, you want to hit one into the $1 million scoreboard over there? Is that what you want, Terry?
They could put a screen in front of it, a net or something. But hey, well, it's time for us to call him Mr. Plank.
All right.
Don't want to leave him waiting.
That's right. Let's do it.
All right, Sooner fans, on the phone with us all the way from apparently outside of the Goolsby International World Airport.
Tire Care and Hair Center.
We have, in my humble opinion, the host of the best radio show in the Metro. Is on Sports Talk 1400, Fox Sports Radio on Sirius. I don't know what all you do, Chris, but we got Chris Plank on the podcast. Boomer, Chris.
Hey, Sooner Terry, Sooner Robert, how you guys doing? Yeah, it was interesting because I have this, when softball season starts, the laundry list of honeydews pile up. And I think I remember, Terry, you putting this out on Twitter when the ice storm hit. You're like, hey, we're going to have free lumber giveaway.
Oh, yeah.
Come on and bring your chainsaw. Yeah. Well, I'm still getting out from underneath that. I've got I've started to whittle it down. I think I'm down to about, 24 branches or so. And, I don't have a big trailer or a truck, so we just kind of started piece by piece, chopping these down and burning them. It's made for some nice nights. We got a pleasant evening here as we tape, and I'm ready to sit back and talk some Sooner athletics, whatever you guys want to get into, man.
No, so did you, I got the ice storm, but I also just got pounded with softball size hailstorms upside my roof. So I'm going on my second roof in 6 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, we got really lucky. We we got hit pretty hard. I don't even know when was the ice storm was. Gosh, this shows you how long it was. It was what, October, November.
Yeah, it was in October.
That I've been taking my sweet, what time to get everything taken care of. And again, I'll make the excuse. You're in the middle of football season. We're still traveling a lot. We're patchworking all of it. Like you said, I stay busy so that I can afford to have this place where I've got to fix all the tree branches and replace everything that's falling apart. But no, it has been a real challenging weather time, man. We got lucky from the hailstorm, so I'm just I feel for you, man. I'm sorry about that. And then you go through the whole madness of, I'm sure, Terry, you expect people knocking on your door that are roofers that are coming from out of nowhere.
Listen, Chris. Yeah. Terry's got a sign on his door that says, "We don't need a new roof. Go away."
Seriously, I do.
He does. I'm not even joking.
That's awesome.
But
That's awesome.
It's bad when your insurance adjuster comes up and he gets to the second step to the top of the ladder and goes, "It's trashed." Literally, he did not get on my roof before he said it's trashed. And
that was
it was nuts. And luckily everybody in my neighborhood has windows knocked out. I didn't get any windows knocked out, but it tore up the window frames. And our buddy Jake Keel, who is a big Sooner fan, has been on the podcast. He's my roofer. And people were knocking on my door, and just if I wouldn't answer, and they'd leave cards. My porch was piling up with cards, and I called him. I said, "Dude, come and hang a sign on my front, please, to get these people to stop." So now it looks like a roofing company. Every house has a different roofing company's name plastered on the front. But
I'm glad you guys are getting through it, man.
Yeah, but. First off, I think we want to talk a little bit about COVID football 2020. Okay?
Oh, let's do it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you under basically the same protocol as all the players at the university?
So that's actually a really good question, Terry.
Well, thank you.
I was not under the day-to-day protocols that they were. The Oklahoma athletic trainers and the doctors put us in a tier that I think, I'm not going to sit here and assume, but I think it was with game day people that were going to be, on the sidelines around the players. And I think this would include the facilities people and maybe some administrators and marketing people. So I luckily got put in that to be on the sideline. And the Big 12 essentially left it up to each member institution to decide, what they were going to allow on the sidelines. For instance, if we were to have gone to Kansas this year, I don't think I would have been able to do sidelines, because Kansas was one of the few places, at least guys in the preseason, that wasn't going to allow any radio sideline reporters. So a long answer to a short, good question. No. Yeah, I was on a much different testing. My testing would be the Friday before the game, and then I would sit there and I would refresh my inbox like crazy to make sure I got that negative result.
Yeah, just listening to your show and stuff, and just hearing, all from the outside, listening in and looking at it, seemed like I was like, man, does he not get to go out with his family? Does he have to sit in his room locked up because they don't want him to get one of the players?
It's kind of funny that you say that, because that's how I treated it. Now, no one ever directly came and said, "Hey, you go in a bubble as soon as you test," but there was hey, make sure you do what's right. So Terry, if you and Rob get a chance to listen to the show, like you said on Fridays, I have Dr. Bratzler on with OU Medicine, and he had always said during the height of the pandemic, I treat it like I'm around everyone that has it. And so that's kind of how I live my life during football season and through the early part of softball season. So, softball, I've been tested a little bit more, but again, it's nerve-wracking is what it is. I told this story a lot, but I'll never forget the head athletic trainer called me. He's like, "Hey, you need a test." He's like, "You got to go get a test, and then you'll be ready to go for the season." Well, I was pretty sure that I had contracted COVID during the summer. I was pretty sure that, we never ended up, we weren't around anyone. I never really got overly sick, but I had I never lost taste or smell, but I had all of the other symptoms. And my mom had contracted it. So we kind of thought, oh, we definitely have it, but I never tested positive. So when I took that first test, guys, I was really nervous. And this test was in August because I didn't know, we were still so unknown. If I'd had it in June, would I still test positive in August, and so on and so forth. So, this was 2 weeks before the first game. And I go and I get this test done, and I'll never forget, I got the notification of the email, and I couldn't get the email on my phone. And so I'm driving down 35. I exit on Highway 9. I pull off to the side of the road. I pull up my laptop. I set up my phone as a hotspot. I open up, guys, my email. I'm on the side of the road. I'm over by the Love's Travel stop in Goldie, which is fairly close to my house. And I open it up, and it says negative. And I call my wife, and I'm borderline in tears. And I'm like, babe, I tested negative. She's like, I knew you would. You're fine. And it's like this incredible weight that's lifted off my shoulder. And I'm calling like negative. And then all of a sudden, like, yeah, okay, great. Listen, you're going to test again next Friday. So it was like, oh, okay.
Every Friday for the next, foreseeable future, you will be going through this.
Yeah. And so then that to me was what was so amazing is, and I think Coach Riley talked about it quite a bit, is you would have these young men, and then when you obviously got past football, these young women that would, they 3 times a week. And you never knew. And you could be, I think Josie called the virus like a ghost at one point. It was so true. So, it calls for a lot of nervous Fridays, man.
Yeah. Now, how many, I think we all kind of know this, how many games were, we know the West Virginia game got canceled, but how many games were truly on the verge of being, that's it?
Could have went either way on some of them, right?
Okay. I don't have any inside information.
Okay.
And this is just going by
how everything happened around you. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say the opener. Yeah. I would say very much the opener was in peril. I think the Kansas State game was from a Kansas State perspective, and I think Bedlam was really close. But actually, hold on. Maybe Baylor, and Baylor was really close. I think from the from the Baylor perspective, the Oklahoma State game might have been fairly close from our perspective.
Yeah.
But I think they still had enough guys. But I think the Baylor game was really close from their perspective. And if I'm not mistaken, I think what Baylor ended up not playing the next week, and I could be off on that. But the point is,
I think you're right.
I think we lost the West Virginia game, and when I say lost, I didn't get to play it, but. I think from an Oklahoma perspective, we were really close in 2 games, and I think from an opponent's perspective, we were really close on 2 others. It was kind of wild because we were talking about this once the season wrapped up, and you almost can remember the games when you felt like, oh, yeah, we didn't really talk about COVID issues. It was, Iowa State and Texas Tech and Texas. Those were the 3 games where it never even brought up leading into it, so it's kind of wild when you think about it.
Yeah. So what was it like, game days? I mean, with 25,000 people. Now we did say this. Toby actually wouldn't ask Coach the question on Tuesday night. We proposed a question. He asked. We always go to the barbecue. We ask. Was he concerned with having the same amount of fans at Memorial Stadium as Oklahoma State does at a sellout this Saturday? He would not ask that question.
He said, what are you guys trying to get me in trouble up here? Don't do that.
I thought it was a legit question. I mean,
I think it's a good question. It was, guys, it was different. I think that's the Captain Obvious statement. There were certain times, there were 2 times this year where it seemed real. The Bedlam game, the Bedlam game seemed real. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
There were moments where, I'm such a fan sometimes. There's times where you close your eyes and you're taking it all in and you hear it and you're like, let's go. This place is packed. And that moment felt very real. The Cotton Bowl felt very odd at the beginning, but then felt very real whenever you when you got to overtime, right?
Yeah.
And the Texas, I don't know if they ever talked about this on TV, but the Texas students, they were running from one end zone to the other, and Joe C. and Zach Selman are like standing there, and you've got security that's like, no, you can't come down here.
Oh, wow. No, they didn't.
It was crazy.
They
Didn't know anything about
they
that.
were going because they were down. They immediately. I mean, as soon as they got the opportunity, the Texas students broke protocol almost as quickly as you can, and they were down on the lower level, and they were trying to make a difference. And in that overtime, they were trying to run back and forth from one end zone to the other, and thankfully that got stopped. But yeah, those were the two times this year when you were in a setting and you're like, okay, let's go. But it was just, there were moments where it was different from the. Like parking, I could show up late. There's one that was a little bit okay. This difference, and it was good. And
No fighting for a spot
on the sideline. Yeah, but in all reality, it was almost. And I think that just about everyone kind of felt this way. You look around, and it's sad, because that the game day traditions that are there. The tailgates that matter to people. Those moments. I mean, you guys know this better than anyone, and you realize that those were. We're put in peril for a season, but I feel really good that we're getting back, and we're getting back soon.
Well, now, Chris, we can't really hold those Texas students. We can't hold it against them because I was told, I haven't seen it myself, but they couldn't fit those instructions in with the other two books that are in their library. Sorry.
So, you got to make sure you limit the amount of information you give so they can take it all in. I like it.
Yeah. So, but here's another fact that we've learned is that Texas tried to cheat again at the Cotton Bowl. They always do. They either pay off the refs or.
Who was the linebacker that they just absolutely held like it was a newborn child?
No, that was Obo.
Obo, yeah.
Yeah.
My gosh.
His senior year when he walked out of that stadium covered in mud and it was hot, and it was because they grabbed him on every part of his body.
Well, that's naughty. I'm just saying, Terry. This is a PG-13.
You've got it, but that's probably, in my opinion, guys. Not to side rail your point, Terry, but that might be one of the most forgotten and underappreciated performances in a big game. That Obo game.
He was.
That year. Oh my gosh, he was
wearing a cape.
Oh my God!
Dude,
and there was 2 and 3 guys grabbing him, and I mean, watching it on TV. We're fans. We're always going to yell holding, but for the love of God, I mean, he was getting drugged to the ground. He was covered. It was because it was hot that day. He was covered in sweat from all working so hard. And one of my favorite pictures of any Sooner is him on his knees after that game, and he's covered in mud. And it's because he got tackled all freaking day long. It was horrible.
Yep.
Yeah, and we still beat them.
Yeah.
Just FYI. But hey, we can't forget. You remember that year they lost to Kansas?
They didn't beat Kansas this year either. Did you know? You remember that they didn't beat Kansas this year?
Was it canceled?
Yeah, it was canceled. So. They've lost to Kansas
just go ahead
and
and mark
not
that up as a loss.
Yeah,
too,
so they've lost to Kansas and not beat Kansas.
Uh-huh.
So we're gonna call it that. But
I like it.
So a little bit about X's and O's here, real quick. First off, Kansas State. I just went blank on their new coach's name, or he's not really new now.
Chris Kleiman.
Yeah, Kleiman. Does he have Lincoln Riley's number? At least he does his first 2 years.
They've got a really good plan.
Yeah,
it's really good. Yeah.
It's kind of like he schemes for Oklahoma that game, because his first year, talking with Teddy up at the coach's show and talking to a few other X and O people, said they did things on their offensive line you have never seen teams do, and you won't see them do again. They were faking traps, they were misdirection, going 2-step. Said stuff you'd never see again. And this past year, they just outlasted Oklahoma. It looks like we ran out of gas.
Yeah, turned the ball over a couple times. It really hurt us. I'll never forget you talking about doing things that, we've never seen before. That was Gabe had been on the sidelines with us. I think that was his second year. And, these guys like Teddy and Gabe, they can see things that, I have no idea. That if I go back and I'm watching the game, I'm like, oh, wow, that's surprising. But they've watched so much film, they see it right away. And Gabe during a commercial break, I'll never forget it, he said, Teddy, they're not doing it right, and it's working. And talking about what Kansas was doing with the running game in Manhattan 2 years ago, he's like, that's not how you're supposed to do it. That's not how you're supposed to block it. But yet, for some reason, it's working. So, and by the way, I'm not here to make excuses, right? That's not me. But the amazing thing about the two Kansas State games, right, is you go back to that game 2 years ago. Parnell Motley gets booted.
Yeah.
Delaren Turner-Yell gets hurt. They're down to a true freshman, Jaden Davis. They're in big trouble in the depth in their secondary. So that played a major factor. And Skylar Thompson has never, and I mean ever, been more accurate in a game than he was in that game 2 years ago. So, and by the way, CeeDee Lamb recovered the onside kick.
Yes, he did. Don't even get us.
Yeah, we don't want.
But then this past year, the crazy thing about the game this past year is Oklahoma was kicking them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were doing whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted, however they wanted, and just. That great. I've said it since day one that I've been, blessed enough to do radio. There's two great equalizers in sports, and it's weather and turnovers.
Yeah.
And in this instance, the turnovers got him. Obviously the Seth McGowan fumble really hurt. The Spencer turnovers hurt, and it's wild because it sucked in the moment and it sucked throughout the season. But I do think in the long run. Listen to this twist, Terry. I do think in the long run it was something that made the Sooners better. And I think it's something that, that made Spencer Rattler better. Now, did he struggle still against Texas? You bet. But I think the experiences learned in those games and how he righted himself and, with Lincoln Riley challenging him, I think this team, as frustrating as that was, I think this team is better because of that.
Well, and I've kind of equated it to those two games this year were a lot like Bob's first year. They were in every game. Or his first year, they didn't know how to win a game. They didn't know how to finish a game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it seemed like against Kansas State and then Iowa State the next week. They didn't know how to win it. They didn't know how to put them away and finish off the game, and ended up letting both teams come back and beat them. So it was, like you said, it was kind of a learning experience. It's like, okay, what do we keep our foot on the gas? Don't, because a lot of time, turnovers and stuff are, not always, but in situations like that, it may be that you're not as intense. They always tell you, you always get hurt when you're not going, 100%, or you make more mistakes when you're not going 100%.
Well, a lot of people say that he likes to take his foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to embarrass folks, so he takes his foot off the gas, and then they catch up, and there's nothing we can do to stop him, kind of thing.
Yeah, but
Yep.
yeah,
and I'll also say one other thing real quick on that. I do think that Ramondre Stevenson, if he plays in the Kansas State game, they win. I think that's one game where you look back and they lacked a true experienced running back that understood late games, protect the football. Yeah, again, we could sit here and relive this, and we're going to have a whole another season probably to talk about it. But yeah, I'm with you guys. That everyone circles Texas and Oklahoma State, and understandably so. And everyone this year is going to circle Nebraska, and understandably so. But we're going to have a trip to Manhattan. And, Lincoln Riley's got to go beat Chris Kleiman. And I think it's going to be challenging because Skylar Thompson's back.
Yeah. And Kleiman is no slouch.
He's pretty good coach.
How many national championships has he won? He built a dynasty up there in a place where I don't know why in God's name anybody would go there. I don't care if they do have a fancy dome. Oh, you want to come to North Dakota or whatever? No, not ever.
Not really, no.
It's negative, 30 degrees in October.
I don't even want to fly over.
But the fact that he could do what he did, and and look at him, I've been actually watching football a little bit, because their playoffs is going on, and
the D2 stuff,
they lost in the first round, so.
Yep.
Lose a good coach. That's what happens, right?
Yep. And
that's right.
What about that Nebraska game, Chris? Are they going to come in here and give us a game?
Which game is that?
Nebraska this year?
Uh-huh.
They're going to. I feel like they're going to come in and give us a game. And I know that their last several years they've been really bad. They haven't recruited well, but I feel like Nebraska's going to come in here and give us a game. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. Last year, Nebraska started to get some preseason pub, right?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Maybe I got to go back 2 years because everything was such a mess last year. It might have been 2 years ago. And they started to get some preseason pub. And I remember not buying into it. And one of our cohorts said, you better buy into it. They're pretty legit. And they proceeded to go about 0-6 before they finally got their first win.
Yeah.
So I've got to dig a little deeper because, we got a lot of Sooners up there. One of the guys who helped bring me to Norman is their media, I guess you would say media services guru there, and Brandon Meyer, and our old big screen guy Alex Wood is up there now, and I got a lot of friends that work in Nebraska, so I've got to dig a little deeper. But on the surface, right, when you just think OU Nebraska, when you think, hey, this is going to be Scott Frost's, third year, it is about time for them to do something.
Yeah.
Right? And this is going to be one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game on their schedule. I think as we started to see that buzz where they were trying to get out of it, we learned why. They were wanting to get another home game in there and try to make up for last year. But I'm glad the game is still happening. I think it's going to be fun for the fans. It's going to be full capacity. And I think there's going to be a lot of tradition. My favorite home game, probably, even though we lost it, was that Notre Dame game, just with everything that led into it, right? And, the welcoming of the fans and everything that was pregame in it. That was awesome. I think we're going to have a similar situation here for this game in 2021. And I'll tell you what, guys, I've never been to Lincoln, so I'm excited to go next year. But I'm sorry, Robert, back to your point. I've got to dig a little deeper. On the surface, I want to agree with you and think, yeah, they're going to come in here and challenge us.
Nope.
I don't really know. I don't know. I've seen they've lost some guys in the transfer portal. I've seen they've brought in a few guys from the portal. So I'm going to be fascinated to see what Scott Frost's team look like here in 2021.
I was, and I think Rob's the same way, I was extremely disappointed when the University of Oklahoma and Nebraska did not work out continuing that series after Nebraska left. Because Oklahoma and Texas, they weren't in the same conference for my whole, up until.
Right, they were Southwest Conference. Yeah.
And we played that game every year. It was like, okay, they have got to keep, the big red rivalry going, and to see it go because, Sooner fans, we hate Texas and we hate Texas fans.
But on the other side, we like Nebraska.
Yeah, we like Nebraska, and they like us. You go to an OU Nebraska game and you sit next to Nebraska fans, it is a good time. Everybody, it is like, when it's done, everybody's like, wow, what a game. Congratulations, blah, 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 blah. And you just don't see that with the type of rivalry that Oklahoma and Nebraska was, because they were battling for championships
year in, year out.
Yeah, for 30 years. I mean, it was those two teams.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I don't know what the future of scheduling looks like, right? And I guess if you base it on where we are right now, everyone's pretty much scheduled up to like almost 2030. But I would love to see this become more regular. I don't know if we're ever going to end up in a situation where you have like a South Carolina Clemson situation where you have that non-conference game every year, or Georgia Tech. I would love to see it. I really would, and I would love for it to be Nebraska. But I don't know why Nebraska hasn't kind of stopped. And listen, they've got incredible facilities and they've got an incredible place, and maybe I need to go up there to see it. But I guess I don't understand why Nebraska wouldn't think we haven't really done much in the Big Ten. Maybe it's time to go home to the Big 12
maybe.
And see if we can't get back in that conference. But
and you know what?
I hate that Nebraska's not in the Big 12. This is where they belong, and I do wish that we saw them more often. And not just football, but in every sport, guys.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a big softball guy.
Yeah.
OU Nebraska softball was great. And I know Nebraska's kind of fallen on the hard times with their softball program, but they were great. Nebraska baseball, you think about names like Aaron Erstadt, they were great.
Mm-hmm.
So I miss it in every single sport. I really do.
And honestly, Chris, it may be just wishful thinking on my part, because I want Nebraska to come in here and be good, and I want it to be a great. Now I want to win. Don't get me wrong. I want to win, and I want to win handily, but I don't want to blow them out 52-0. because I
Right.
respect
We want to
Nebraska
see a good
enough.
game, right?
Yeah.
We want to see a good game. And in Oklahoma, it's funny. My Adam Starling, Victory Family Church, my pastor, he always gets mad at me whenever I say, man, I love a close game. He's like, I want to blow them out. He's like, I want to beat everyone's pad. And I love that mindset. But I do think in this instance, I'd love to see a close game. I think it'd be good for this team.
Yeah, you'd be, like my dad back in the day, when he would start throwing things, listening to the, back in, we didn't get to see every game on TV, so we're listening.
Right.
Bob Berry Sr.
Yeah, I'd listen to it on the radio. We're playing Kansas and we're up, 52-0 in the third quarter, and they score a touchdown, and my dad starts throwing stuff in the living room because they're going to freaking come back and win this game. It's like, Dad,
He's a true Sooner fan.
Yeah. It's like, I could literally go up to the stadium today, and they'd probably let me out on the field to play because they're done. But yeah, he was. Anytime anybody scored a point, my dad was just furious.
Love it.
Just like, golly. Well, and I've told this story before. I mean, he wrote Barry Switzer a letter. He actually wrote him two. And, but again, before social media, my dad would just sit down and write. He just wrote a letter.
Barry.
That's so cool.
Listen, Barry, we need to run the ball.
And just like this, it was just, it's unacceptable. And Barry Switzer wrote him back, one of them.
What?
Yeah, he did. He wrote him
Do you
back.
still have the letter?
They burned up in a house fire by the house I grew up. But it was,
no.
it was basically, you're right. We need to do things better. We are Oklahoma. And my dad was like, see, I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, when that letter came, my dad was like, he wrote me back. So, but
That's so cool.
how do the Sooners look coming out of spring? I mean, they've got us all kind of pumped up. Now we got to ask you. We know you're not an insider, but you're way more inside than we are. Okay, so.
I think he's pretty inside. But I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I appreciate that.
But this is our view. Okay, me and Rob both kind of agree on
Go
this.
ahead.
There is not a quarterback controversy at the University of Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler
Well, you're correct there.
is the starter. But there is a quarterback battle because Caleb Williams is not sitting down behind anybody and not
be
fighting
pushing
for a start.
Got to be
starting
pushing
spot.
him, isn't he?
Are we right in that? Don't you think?
I think that Lincoln Riley would tell you that you're always right and that there's competition
Yeah.
everywhere. I mean,
But Caleb
you go
Williams
back
just kind of
to-
seems like the mentality is there is I didn't come in here to sit behind anybody. You know what I mean? Just the
Love to
way
see it.
he
Yeah,
carries
love to see it.
himself. And
I would say there's competition everywhere. I think that's the if you were to ask any coach, I think he would say there's competition everywhere. There's no spots that are handed off, and you're the guy here, and no one can challenge you. And I think, I'm a big Spencer guy, and I think Spencer responds to it. I think he likes it. I think he thrives in it, and I think that it's kind of crazy to think how little football that Spencer Rattler has actually played over the last 3 years and before last season, and how little time he had preparing. So, again, I'm with you. There's not a quarterback controversy. I think Spencer Rattler's going to have a great year. I think he's going to put himself in a position where at the end of this season, he's going to have a decision to make, and I think he's going to be the apple of NFL talent evaluators' eye. But with that said, nothing is handed to you in
No.
this program. And this man, and I'm not trying to lose my mind over 11 passes in the spring game. And I wasn't there firsthand. I went back and watched it. In fact, I listened to the radio broadcast. I dorked out on this thing. I looked at what the stats were. I was doing softball during the day, and I was kind of following from afar. You can't help but get excited when you see a kid like that come in, and that's the first time you see him, right? And he performs like that. So it's understandable, and I think there's reason to be hyped. But here's something that I talk about a lot, and it might fall on deaf ears, or some people might say, okay, I get it. I understand the excitement over like the true freshmen and the newcomers and the people that we follow in recruiting. I get it. But for me, I get really excited about the guys who had been in the program for a year and maybe we didn't see play a lot, right?
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I'm really excited about Billy Bowman, but I'm also really excited to see what Joshua Eaton does. and what Bryson Washington does this year. Okay, and I'm really pumped. I'm fired up to see some of these young guys, the Danny Stutzmans of the world. But I'm really fired up to see Shane Witter in year number 2. So with that in mind, don't get me wrong. You're 100% right. This Caleb Williams kid, is going to come in. He's going to be great. But it's going to be in time, and I think you put it perfectly. I don't think there's a quarterback controversy unless Spencer goes out there and really struggles, but I do think you're going to have competition there because that's the foundation of this program.
No. He looks really good. I mean,
he does. He does.
No, well, and then when was the last time we heard a defensive coordinator? We talked about this on last week's podcast. Say that I'm not worried. We're at a point where I'm not worried about the personnel. Where I'm worried about the set. It was something to that extent that he said after the game.
Right.
It was. I'm not worried about who we got out there. I'm just now we're worried about getting in the right place. So that's telling me that this defense that he's built and these athletes that are coming in, he doesn't have to worry about getting 3 guys out and 3 guys in. If he's like, hey, I don't want to substitute. I want to do this, and I want to surprise them. He's not worried about getting guys in and out of the game.
Yeah, but keep in mind, the foundation of this defense, too, is one that's going to play a lot of dudes.
Yeah.
Brian Odom right now has 9 guys in his inside backer room. I was trying to take account of what I think that split's like between Calvin Thibodeau and Jamar Cain's room. I think it's massive. I don't know. There's a lot of defensive linemen and concussions on it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. The depth on the D-line is crazy this year.
Oh, and it's something that, we can't get used to because you're going to have guys that are going to be turning pro in the future and might not be around for, 4 or 5 years. But I think you're onto something in that this defense, we're coming out of a spring game and spring practices where you hear a lot of those insiders that say defense might be the first bus in. Defense might be the best part of this team right now. And I think for guys that are that have been around this program, and Terry and Robert, you guys are diehard fans too, that's a pretty exciting thing to see. Toby always likes to joke with Teddy about, would it be crazy like in 15 years from now we're doing the Sooner Radio Network games, and it's, Teddy, who's been a defensive guy who's had to live through some challenging defensive performances, and it's an offensive guy like, I don't know, Marquise Brown or CeeDee Lamb, and I don't know what's going on with the offense, and the defense is dominating. It's kind of, I don't think we're going to get to that point with Lincoln Riley as the head coach, but it's really fun to see confidence on this defense. And I'll tell you what, guys, to me it starts with coaching. It starts with Alex Grinch. Well, it starts with having the dudes, right?
Yeah.
But to get those dudes, you need the coaches to sell them to get here.
That's right.
And that's Alex Grinch. That's Brian Odom. That's Calvin Thibodeau, Jamar Cain, Roy Manning. They've got some dudes on defense, and they got some dudes that know how to coach them.
No,
it's going to be an exciting and fun year, I think.
Okay, now
I'm with you guys.
Now we're going to break off of football a little bit. And because we got to talk about softball because you do a fine job, better than fine, probably the best out there on the call.
Terry's grading you out here.
Yeah, so
I appreciate it.
Okay, first off, Oklahoma starts off the season at the Minor Invitational, and their first game against UTEP is 29-0.
Right.
Okay. Have you ever called a 29-0 softball game in your life?
At least one.
No.
Now you have. But so.
Nor had I called a game where we hit 18 home runs or whatever it was in that game. It was kind of funny. I'd never heard of the Twitter feed Cespedes Barbecue, but they retweeted it, and I don't, or because the NCAA put out the highlights. And the funny story about that game is that UTEP. They had some technical issues, so they didn't even get the game on the air until the 4th home run, which, by the way, I think was the 2nd inning of the game. So, I mean, nothing bad. But, yeah, so they had retweeted it, and they said this incredulous play-by-play guy tries to find ways to make every home run exciting. And I was like, okay, I'll take that as a compliment. Because when you get to the point where it's 20-0 and you have someone that just bombs one to right center field, you're just, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But you know what's, Terry, maybe a lot of your listeners don't know this, Robert, is that weekend, that opening weekend in El Paso was you were talking about COVID protocols, and we had weather issues during the first week of softball. that was the 5th, maybe even the 6th different opening series that Oklahoma had scheduled. Patty Gasso and Kenny Mossman and Jackie Livingston had there was originally a tournament that was going to be played out in California, and then that didn't come to fruition. Then they were going to try to do something in Oklahoma City, and that didn't come to fruition. And then they were going to go to, I think it was like Abilene Christian, and then that didn't come to fruition. And then they were going to go to somewhere small. They ended up setting up a last-second deal with El Paso, and this is a true story. We found out that we were going to El Paso, and the coaches and everyone were able to finalize like the Wednesday of game week.
Wow.
And the Tuesday or Wednesday of game week, and we're on a plane and flying the next day and playing those, I think we ended up with 2, 3, 4 games. So it was pretty wild at the start of the season to see not only the way this team played and has continued to play, guys, but how the COVID protocols really affected things, and then the weather early in the season.
Now, see, what you should have done, Chris, not that I'm, a broadcast genius.
I'm always ready for advice.
Yeah, get your notepad out.
Get your
pearls of wisdom, Chris.
Rob, you're going to love this. When the Sooners go up like that, 21-0, 15-0, start calling the game like Bob Uecker on Major League. Yep, another home run.
Yep.
There's a surprise.
The problem there with Bob Uecker is he was always on the wrong side of it.
Yeah,
the Indians stunk, right?
Always,
and so when he was winning, that's when he was all into it,
Yeah.
and that's whenever he was fired up. That's when he stopped drinking on the broadcast.
Yeah, I love that when I can't remember what he said. He cussed on there, and he goes, "You can't cuss on there." And he goes, "Who the hell cares? Nobody's listening."
Nobody's listening.
And now he's with the Brew Crew, and they don't win very much more.
Oh, but I've always, my favorite Bob Uecker quote too is, he played catcher, and he said, they asked him, how he caught. I can't remember the guy's name that threw the knuckleballs back in the day. Rob, I can't think of his name.
There's several,
but
Necro.
Yeah, Necro. It's like they asked him, how do you catch a knuckleball to Uecker? And Uecker goes, you pick it up when it stops rolling at the backstop. That's
or after it hits you. Yeah. I played catcher too.
That's fantastic.
But okay, so Oklahoma starts off in a storm. I mean, just demolishing pretty much everybody. Houston, it was a little bit of a close game, and then they go and they play Mexico, the Mexican national
team.
Team.
Team Mexico at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beat them 3 times.
Okay, aren't they like
Sid Romero on that team?
She was, yes.
I thought
yes. So. Her and her sister, as a matter of fact, are on that team.
So, are we mistaken? Or aren't they like the third best team in the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were just making sure we weren't telling people.
It's USA softball, Oklahoma Sooners, and then the Mexican national team, right?
But, and I mean, and then they're just, I mean, not just score. I mean, good Lord. Okay, how was the teams that when they would come in to play Oklahoma, whether at home or away, was it like? Could you tell they're just like let's just not get run ruled? Were there any teams that looked like that?
No. I think I think there was a big mental edge that this team had, and part of that was because of how they had prepared, and the other part of it was just how good they were. You see a team. In fact, I mean, I'm not here to name names, but there were a couple of teams that. Magically, it's like, oh, hey, we can't play this weekend. We're not going to be showing up. Like, what?
They're sending their team out to catch COVID. We don't need to play this weekend. Go get COVID.
Right. So I think that happened maybe once or twice. But here's the thing is, and obviously we've rolled through the whole season. We're getting ready for the Big 12 championship this weekend, and they're playing really well. They just came off the Bedlam win and winning their 9th straight Big 12 championship. But it's been really fun to watch this team go through a lot of phases. They went through that dominant phase. They went through a phase where maybe there were games they didn't play all that well. I mean, they might still win, but I think even Patty Gasso looks back and goes, man, we could have done this or that better. And they started to do it better, and they are doing it better. So to me, this team has been challenged at the right times. Going to Georgia, I think, was good for them. And I think they're ready for the postseason, guys. Jump on board. This is going to be a fun run for them.
Okay, now this past weekend, listening to your show again today, you're a little hot under the collar about everything that went on.
You know, yeah, and here's why. And I think more than anything else, this just kind of goes back to I want every win respected, you know, and I want every fan to have an opportunity. You know, Oklahoma, by the way, had chosen not to have their Big 12 championship celebration in Stillwater, so that's fine. That's why the trophy wasn't in the picture, so I'll accept that. But the other part of it is, you know, you announced that you're going to 100% capacity like an hour before the game.
No.
You know, I don't know. I don't think there was a meeting like right before first pitch where they were like, hey, we can do this now. You know, I feel like there was a plan in place that they could go out and, you know, maybe publicize it a little bit more. And not just, you know, to give Oklahoma fans a chance to go, but even more Oklahoma State fans.
No.
So I was a little bit upset about that. I thought it was one of the more challenged officiating umpiring crews that we've had. And I don't know why, and maybe this is the OU homer in me, but it just seemed like every single call went against Oklahoma. So, yeah, you're right. My wife's making fun of me right now. I was a little bit hot under the collar, but in the end, Terry, everything that happened this weekend was good for this team.
Yeah.
You know, everything that happened from the, you know, even though they weren't 100% capacity, boy, Oklahoma State had some great crowds, and they were into it, and they were loud, and they were letting the Sooners have it. It was something else. It was a really kudos to Kenny Gajewski and the Oklahoma State Cowgirls marketing team. They have done a really nice job in creating an environment there. But I wish they would have let everyone know that they were going to open up to 100% a little bit earlier on Sunday, because I think it could have ended up being something pretty special for everyone involved. It was, but I think it could have been even more wild.
You know what's funny? Kenny Gajewski was my youngest son's pitching coach when he was in Little League. In fact,
really?
I had his cell phone number in my phone until probably last year or something. I was like, oh, he's not.
Here's the thing: is I think, you know, he's got OU ties. He played on that '94 national championship team. He worked in, I think, facilities whenever he was here, but he always wanted to be a coach. And whenever Tim Walton went down and took the Florida job, he went with him. And in what kind of the transfer U mindset that they've created in Stillwater, they've done a really nice job. You know, Carrie Eberle's a very good pitcher. They've got a couple of really nice hitters. It's a lot. There's Virginia transfers. There's Virginia Tech transfers. There's Georgia transfers all over the place. But yeah, it's good. It's good that Oklahoma State is good. It's good that Texas is better. It's good that Iowa State is improving, and it's good that Baylor's good. We only got 7 teams that play softball in the Big 12, guys, and you're always fighting an uphill battle against the SEC and, of course, the Pac-12. So when you have more than just Oklahoma dominating everything, I think it makes it good. And to see Oklahoma get challenged and overcome it this weekend, yeah, beyond all my upset about the umpiring and capacities and celebrations and taking the score off the scoreboard before we could get a picture of it. It was a heck of a weekend. That makes it see better.
So there was another challenge that we wanted to bring up, having listened to the last game, and it sounded like there was an OSU woman sitting in your lap screaming "Orange Power." Now, you know, I was just like, Chris, you have got to just reach over and smack this woman. What is going on?
Here's what happened. Funny story. We actually, ESPN allows us to grab a feed of their audio. And so, you know, so that way you get all the pings and those things. I didn't even catch that because I was so into the game until after I was listening back to the highlights. And I was like, who is that? and so I was thinking about it because I remember she was sitting there. The crowd mic had a crowd mic on the third base and the first base line, and she was sitting right behind that crowd mic on the third base line. And she would stand up, and I don't know if she really understood the chant or how to get it started, but she would just stand up and try to do it like all the time. So it was
annoying.
Hey man,
it was annoying.
I'll tell you what. There were some people that were. I mean, they were hot. Those Oklahoma State fans were after they lost on Saturday. They were into it. So that was a fun environment down in Stillwater this weekend.
Well, see, and that's another thing is, great programs, great teams. They know what their chant is. You got Oklahoma with Boomer Sooner.
Right.
You got Roll Tide with Alabama. And is it Orange Power or Pistols firing at Oklahoma State? Which one? Can they not?
Well, I think they're going with Orange Power, because that's all I heard all weekend long, and about 8 different times and 8 different ways of people trying to start it. But yeah, and I don't know if that's going to lead to Dave Hunziker changing his touchdown call or not. But yeah, they were all over it this weekend, guys.
I hate orange. Hate every shade of orange.
Yeah, that was quite annoying, because it sounded like, we're just assuming that she's sitting right next to your microphone. So we're like, Chris, please slap that woman.
You know what was great? What's great is the people that were sitting around me, is they were all like Oklahoma State, because I was out in the crowd, and they were all Oklahoma State fans. And it was, they were really cool. In some environments that can get a little bit dicey. Mm-hmm. I've been out in crowds for baseball games, and it doesn't always end well. They'll let you have it, and they don't stop letting you have it. But to the credit of those who were stuck kind of sitting around me, they were very kind and understanding if I had a job to do. So that was nice.
Yeah. So here's one of the things I like about Oklahoma sports. If you go to their pages and you're looking, I'm sitting here looking at the softball page, and like Oklahoma football always has the date of the Big 12 championship game, because we expect to be there.
Right.
And I have gone to other schools' pages. They don't have the Big 12 championship there. Oklahoma does. And Oklahoma softball has the Women's College World Series on their schedule, which I think is awesome. They expect to be there. Are they going to be able to pull off the Big 12 tournament, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll tell you what, that's the funny thing is, I'll never forget, guys, my first year calling softball was 2016. And I remember I think we clinched the Big 12 at home in 2016. And at that point, let's see, you go back, I want to say 8, 7, 6, 5. I think that was their 4th straight Big 12 championship at that time. And I remember I was so fired up. I was just like, I've got to find the call somewhere. Oklahoma wins the Big 12 championship. And they walked down, they high-fived, and they walked back into the dugout. I was like, what just happened here? All right? Fast forward to a week later, regionals. I for the life of me, I can't remember who we had in the regionals. But, win the regionals, on to the super regionals. Walked over, high-five, couple hugs, went back to the locker. I'm like, what is going on here? Super regionals, Louisiana Lafayette, win the super regionals. We're golf to the World Series. A little bit more of a celebration, some high fives, but again, nothing outside of their traditional taking the panel down to the wall. And I never forget, it's like Coach Gass was saying, listen, this team knows there's bigger expectations. Now, don't get me wrong, they enjoy it, they do celebrate it, and it matters a lot to them. But there's always more work to do. They're not done yet, and I think that's kind of been the mantra over the last couple of weeks for this team. If it's seeing where they are ranked, if it's seeing their RPI go, if it's seeing Jocelyn Allo as a Player of the Year finalist, or Tiari Jennings and Jada Coleman as Freshman of the Year finalists, I feel like that's kind of been the motto of this team. They're not done yet, and they're just going to keep fighting and slugging. And I think they've got a really good chance to be playing in Oklahoma City here in about 4 weeks.
Nice. We're looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. I'm probably not going to go.
No.
But definitely
it's going to be a hard ticket to get, probably, if
Yeah. But here's the thing, though, guys. I'll say this, and I'll challenge all the listeners to the podcast. This has been a tough year to see Sooner softball because of COVID and capacity concerns. Yeah. And I know that there's going to be a capacity limitation in Oklahoma City, and I think there's even debates as we sit here of people that are trying to talk the NCAA into increasing it. There's chances to get tickets, so I wouldn't just tap out. I would stay tuned to the Big 12 web. Well, I guess this would be the Sooner Sports website, the Women's College World Series website, which is the NCAA. I think there's going to be more chances than maybe we even imagine to potentially see games in the World Series this year.
And I didn't realize until about a month ago that they expanded that stadium.
Yeah. They got an upper deck now.
Yeah.
You can drive by on 35. You can see it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I was driving by it about a month ago. I was like, holy cow.
Nobody could sit there.
Yeah,
But
that's a really nice job.
Yeah, so, I know that the lovely Teresa, my wife, and Miss Sooner Lisa, they're planning on getting up there. I think they're wanting to do a girls' night up there. So I'll probably go play golf.
Tell them it's gonna be different. It's gonna be fun. There's more options. The thing that I think always hamstrung the Oklahoma City and the Women's College World Series is just you go there and there's 2 bathrooms and you've got 2 options for concessions, but Oklahoma City as a city really stepped up, and USA Softball has really stepped up to create a place that is a fun environment. So, yeah, your wife and Lisa's going to have a blast going to that, man. It's going to be a fun environment.
Yeah. So, first off, also, we didn't get invited out to play golf today. Thanks for the non-invite.
Neither did I. It's okay.
I played.
It's fine.
No,
I'm okay with it. I didn't get the invite either, guys.
But did you do any top golf at the stadium over the weekend?
I saw you guys got to do it. I was very jealous of everyone that got the opportunity to do it. I remember seeing some emails in the planning phases of that, and I'm a big I really enjoyed Top Golf, and I thought it looked pretty cool. I didn't know how to get involved. I tried to show up for work one day and just walk out there and, oh, look, I brought my club. But, no, it was really cool. And they've done it at some other stadiums across the country. It was a really cool idea, and I'm glad you guys got to do it.
Yeah, it was pitch and wedge and sand wedge only.
Yeah.
I was wanting to, see if I could hit a driver into the old field house, but nope, didn't get a chance to. But
that would have been great.
Oh yeah, I was like, we were, as we said earlier on,
as students are walking by out there getting pelted with golf balls.
But we were dropping dimes. Not, the group next to us. Me and Rob even got bored and started playing left-handed. So, and that is the most. I can hit a baseball or a softball left-handed, but the most awkward thing I've ever done in my life, I think, is try to hit a golf ball left-handed.
Trying to throw left-handed is it for me. That's the one where you want to make me look like I don't know what I'm doing. Outside of trying to break down the NHL, have me try to throw something left-handed. I'm in big trouble.
Okay, one last thing before we go. Okay. What was it, about December-ish, late in December, you got a phone call from somebody apparently at some point in time that told you Toby is not going to the Cotton Bowl, and you got to make the call.
Yeah.
What were you, how was that? How did that conversation go? You're like, what?
It was probably, honestly, guys, one of the more bittersweet things ever. Because Toby's my best friend, and
yeah.
I think and I know you guys feel the same way, and he's incredible at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was Christmas, and it was the Christmas weekend. It was the Sunday. We have a screened-in patio here at my house, and I went outside to take the call. Toby and I, you want to get an idea of what our conversations are like. It's mostly text, but we know it's something important. Whenever you'll get a text, it's like, hey, can I call you real quick? Or can I call you in a bit? And usually if you text me and say, hey, can I call you? I'm going to reply with a call. So I'm going out and I'm sitting in the screened-in porch, and he breaks the news that he has COVID. But the good news was that while he was sick, he wasn't having severe symptoms. So that's number one, right? It's like,
yeah.
Hey, are you okay? And then he goes, well, number two, I can't obviously call the game. And I'm kind of oblivious for just a minute, and then I clicked and I was like, wait a minute, I'm his backup. I'm number 2 on the depth chart, and we got other people that can call games. Chad McGee could call games, so I didn't know if the call was, hey man, I'm not feeling well. We're gonna have you add the pregame stuff and take care of the post game, and you and Gabe will be down on the sidelines. So I was just excited and then at the same time sad because I'm sitting there and I tell my wife, I'm like, Sarah, I'm calling the Cotton Bowl, and again, Sarah's great friends with Toby's wife, and we're like, are they okay? And that's the most important thing is, were they healthy? And then, everything else was just getting into game mode. Toby and I spent a lot of time on the phone. I hadn't called football as a play-by-play in a while. So we got into kind of formation conversations. We had lost a very important member of our crew this year. Our spotter, Greg Blackwood, had passed away mid-season battling cancer. So that left us a little bit, challenged, and not just emotional and losing a friend, but he was really, really good at what he did. And he did so much more. So then it was, hey, you're going to count on your buddy Drake to spot. So it was the phone call was one that it kind of took me a couple of minutes to realize what was going on. And then the enormity of the moment and the responsibility kind of took me to another level of, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. And so here's the funny part. OU Athletics puts out the statement, right? And there's the tweet from the voice of Toby Rowland, and it says, I'm filling in. Well, I got a test on Monday. So, and it's funny because I have a really bad allergies, guys. And my nose started leaking. I couldn't stop sneezing. I was like, oh my gosh, they have put this out that I'm going to call the game and I'm going to end up testing positive for COVID. This is unbelievable. But thankfully I didn't. Thankfully I got to call the game. It was honestly one of the more nerve-wracking things I've ever done in my life, but in the same vein, one of the more rewarding. It's kind of fun when you go call a game that's a blowout. But then in the same vein, it was also one of those things that was a blur.
No.
You're calling it. It's like you look up. It's like it's 14-0. It's like, well, the first quarter is over, and in your mind, you're like, slow down, game, slow down. Let's let. I want to simmer in this. I want to hang out with Ted now. I'm feeling good about it. It was really, it was fun, But again, it was so bittersweet because we're a team. When Toby got hired in 2011, that was my first year. He and I kind of came in together. His first year, my first year. So it's not the same when he's not there. I hope I did a good job. I had a lot of fun doing it. We obviously had a great game to call, but to me, as memorable as that was, the thing that resonates for me is knowing that my friend was okay and that he's going to be back calling a game in 2021, and we're going to be able to do it together. It's weird because now, we didn't get to do the Cotton Bowl together, and then he did TV on the spring game. And I was down at softball. We had a doubleheader that day. So we haven't called the last two football games together. So we might just there might be a big bro hug moment whenever we finally get to do that, whenever we open up against you as a Western Carolina. But no, yeah, I'm glad you guys asked about it because it's something I love to talk about. It was an incredible moment for me, for my family. But in the same vein, it was also something to where you're not getting to be around the person that you get to do this with. And that made it hard. So it was crazy.
Well, we kind of had that same type of moment on game day because I was listening to the radio, the pregame, and Toby brings up the podcast, on the pregame with Teddy,
right?
And because I run our Twitter account. And I'm superstitious. Rob isn't. Rob's not a true fan. But
no, you just watch your dirty pirate hooker mouth, Terry.
I had an issue with karma. Okay, not karma.
Right.
The mojo. Toby's supposed to call the game, and this is coming out. My deal, and I put out a tweet was, I don't understand if baseball guys can call Korean baseball from Los Angeles, why Toby can't call the game from his home. And Toby was like, the guys at Sooner football fans, it's not the fact that I can't breathe and I'm dying over here. And it was nothing. It was nothing to do with Toby, or you doing it. It was like, oh my God, the line, the planets just went out of line.
Right. Well, we did explore every option, but Toby, he's like, I am sick. He's like, I'll be able to do pre and post, but I do have a respiratory issue. And then the second part of it was the timing of it was really tough because if it was just Toby, then I think we would have been able to do it and it would have been fine. But when you add Toby, with Ted, and then a little bit of delayed feed. I think it made it tough, but I thought it worked out okay. It was an incredible experience, and I'm excited to get him back in the booth.
Yeah, but yeah, and that was a good game to call, even though it wasn't the real Florida Gators that came up to play.
Even though the Gator season came to an end after the SEC championship, right?
Yeah, Why is it SEC
started on that?
Yeah, SEC teams when they lose a bowl game is because they didn't want to be there. I mean,
that's right. That's always their excuse.
Yeah,
it's always going to be it.
We didn't really want to be in the Cotton Bowl, making millions of dollars, for the program, national TV.
What they meant to say was we didn't want to get embarrassed in the Cotton Bowl like we did.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure if they would have won the game, that it would have been a much different mind.
Oh yeah. And I said the only time I think we watched the game, me and Rob had a little get together here. It was that 2 minutes into the second quarter when we kind of fumbled around a little bit, turned the ball over. I was mad for maybe 5 minutes, and then I was okay the rest of the game. I was like, okay, we're back. So
we got this.
Yeah, but Chris, tell everybody. Like I said, I can't remember all the places you work at, so tell everybody where they can catch your stuff.
Well, let me give you three. Let me give you three to make it easy. How's that?
Okay.
As Terry mentioned, I do a daily radio show. For those of you that listen in Tulsa or maybe catch it across the country, you can stream us at sportstalk1400.com. Or on TuneIn, iHeartRadio. We're on the major streaming services. Just search Sports Talk 1400. Toby's in the morning and I'm in the midday. 6A to 11A, you get T-Row and I. So that's kind of fun. Then I encourage everyone. I do a podcast. We haven't updated it in a couple of days because of the madness of the baseball and the softball schedule. But we're going to have a new episode that drops here too. Please, if you subscribe to this podcast, I think you'll love our podcast, Soonersports.com/podcast or Sooner Sports Podcast. And then finally, guys, I would really push everyone to check out our softball broadcast. I think this is the time to jump on board. You can find the link at Soonersports.com, or I would encourage everyone, if you have the TuneIn app, you search Franchise 2, and we'll always be on AM 1560. But we've got a really special team, man, and I hope everyone can get behind it because this has a chance to be number 5. But we may be on a collision course for a showdown with UCLA again, and to be honest with you, I'm here for it. I can't wait for it.
Oh yeah, it's going to be
great.
That's going to be great. Well, hey, Chris, we appreciate it as always. Thanks a lot for coming on again, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, man. Call anytime. You guys have a great night. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chris.
You too. See ya.
Bye.
Well, that was Chris Plank, Rob.
He's great, as always.
Yeah. Guy's full of energy, isn't he?
always. And you know what? That part about him saying that he gets up for every home run.
Yeah,
that has got to be tough.
Yeah,
I mean, because the girls are hitting a lot of home runs, but every time he does it.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, it's like it's a bomb.
That is long gone. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm not trying to. He does a fantastic job.
Yeah, and like I said, his radio show. I've gotten to where that's all I listen to is Sports Talk 1400 because honestly, all I care about are the Sooners.
Right.
I mean, yeah, and they'll drop in a little bit of Thunder talk, which I'm tired of hearing about them, but they'll throw in a little bit of LA Dodgers, and they'll talk about their teams a little bit. But I enjoy listening to that radio station. T-Row in the morning. And then the Plank Show, at 9 o'clock. And I said, James Hill comes on after that, and then Teddy. But Chris Plank's show is one of the best shows. I mean, because he gets into everything. He's very insightful, and like I said, his show is very energetic. It's fun to listen to.
Always positive. Always good to listen. Yeah.
But we appreciate the guys at the Sooner Sports Broadcasting. I mean, him coming on the show. We've had Toby on the show. We'll get Toby on again, and but he's always eager and always friendly. That says, hey, whenever you want to come on, and we can talk about anything with him.
Well, we got the best guys in the business.
Oh, right? Yeah, we do.
I mean, Toby and Chris and Teddy all the way down the line, they're the best in the business.
No, but Rob, you got anything else you want to share with the masses?
Nope.
No.
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, didn't we have a fan come down on us because we started talking about golf or something?
Yeah, somebody,
So show us on the doll where we hurt you. I'm just joking.
Yeah,
He's probably not listening anymore.
Yeah, probably not. He said he would never listen again. So, said the first 5 minutes was about golf. It wasn't about golf. It was about our golf. For crying out loud, our golf.
You better recognize
is different than everybody else's golf. I mean, everybody who listens to our podcast knows that Rob and I are both very good at playing good golf bad.
That's somewhat right.
Yeah, I need a shirt that says that.
That's
play
a T-shirt
good,
for sure.
I play good golf bad.
Okay.
So, but well, I mean, that's all I got. Again, guys, make sure and follow us. Check out all of Chris's shows, the Sooner Sports Podcast. Make sure and check that out. We appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next week. Boomer Rob.
Sooner Terry.